Have you ever wondered why the person who seems so distant, the one who appears just out of reach, consumes your thoughts the most? There's something magnetic about someone who plays hard to get. It stirs a mix of curiosity, challenge, and desire. But here's the truth. What seems like their power is actually an illusion. Their game is a strategy, a manipulation designed to shift control. The question is, are you going to keep chasing, or will you reclaim your power and turn the game around? This isn't about becoming manipulative. It's about understanding the dynamics at play and mastering them to your advantage. Enough is enough. Take your power back. The dance of relationships often feels like a game of tug-of-war. One person pulls, the other resists. But what if I told you that the most effective way to win isn't to pull harder, but to let go of the rope entirely? When someone plays hard to get, they're betting on your need for validation, your hunger to be chosen. They want you to question your worth, to seek their approval. But here's the thing, they don't define you, you do. The moment you stop seeking what they withhold, you shift the balance of power. You become the one who's sought after, not the seeker. In relationships, playing hard to get is often a test of patience and boundaries. Imagine you're in a room with a glowing lamp. The more you chase its light, the further it seems to move. But when you stand still, grounded in your confidence, the light eventually circles back to you. This is the essence of outsmarting their game. It's not about running faster. It's about realizing you don't need to run at all. You're not broken. You're rising. And when you rise, their games lose their grip. As the ancient strategist Sun Tzu once said, "The greatest victory is that which requires no battle." Outsmarting someone playing hard to get isn't about outwitting them. It's about understanding the rules of the game and choosing not to play. When you center yourself in your worth, when you stop chasing and start attracting, the dynamic changes. They begin to feel the absence of your pursuit, and absence, when deliberate, speaks louder than any words. They'll start to wonder, why aren't they chasing me anymore? And in that moment, the game they thought they were winning begins to unravel. Think of a magnet. When two magnets are forced together, their polarities can repel each other, but when held at the right distance, their pull becomes irresistible. Relationships are no different. Desperation repels. Confidence attracts. By stepping back, by focusing on your own growth, you create an undeniable pull. This is your moment to reclaim everything. Your silence will echo louder than their words, and your transformation will be impossible to ignore. The love you seek starts with you, not with their approval, but with the strength to stand tall on your own. When someone plays hard to get, they're betting on your fear of losing them. But what if, instead, you saw their game as a gift? Their distance gives you space to rediscover your worth, to invest in yourself, to build a life so fulfilling they can't help but notice. Picture a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble. Each strike reveals a masterpiece hidden beneath. That's what this moment is for you. A chance to carve out the strongest, most magnetic version of yourself. Every setback was a setup for this moment. Relationships thrive on balance. When one person gives endlessly while the other withholds, resentment and frustration grow. But when you pull back, when you stop overgiving, something magical happens. You restore equilibrium. They begin to see the value they overlooked, the connection they took for granted. Your strength becomes undeniable. They walked away, but you're still standing. Not just standing, you're thriving. They underestimated you. Now prove them wrong, not with anger, not with games, but with the unstoppable power of your growth. The strongest fires create the brightest flames, and your flame is fueled by your decision to stop waiting for someone to see your worth. Look in the mirror. That's your biggest ally. You don't need them to be whole. You're already complete. This isn't about revenge or playing by their rules. It's about setting your own. It's about stepping into a mindset where you're no longer chasing, but choosing. When you realize that, you don't just outsmart their game, you transcend it. Think of a chessboard. Every move they make is designed to keep you guessing, to keep you reactive. But the most powerful player on the board isn't the one who moves first. It's the one who controls the pace of the game. By focusing on yourself, by creating a life so magnetic they can't look away, you become the player, not the pawn. They'll start to question their own strategy, wondering how you've managed to slip through their grasp. Your heart knows its worth. Listen to it. Stop waiting. The time is now. Build without limits. Rediscover the parts of yourself that may have been overshadowed by their games. Chase your passions, nurture your dreams, and surround yourself with people who see your light without you having to dim it. When they see the life you've created, the person you've become, they'll realize that playing hard to get was the biggest mistake they ever made. But by then, you'll be so far ahead, they'll have to earn the right to stand beside you. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. Feel the pain, but don't live there. Turn your pain into your power. Let the hurt fuel your growth. Stop waiting for permission to be amazing, because you already are. The love you've been searching for starts within you. This is your moment to rise above their games, to reclaim your narrative, to shine so brightly they'll wonder how they ever let you slip away. The power of affirmation lies in its ability to reshape your mindset and remind you of the strength you already carry within. Here is your affirmation. I choose my worth. Write this in the comments to claim your truth and step into your strength today. If this message resonates with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're pouring our hearts into creating content that empowers and uplifts you. Your support means the world to us. Number 1. Stop dancing to their tune. Create your own rhythm. Have you ever felt like you're in a dance you never agreed to join? They take a step back and you follow. They spin away and you try to keep up. But here's the truth. They're not leading you. They're trapping you in a pattern that only serves their ego. Relationships are not about surrendering your rhythm to someone else's tune. They're about creating a harmony where both partners thrive. Enough is enough. It's time to step out of their shadow and reclaim your rhythm. When someone plays hard to get, they're counting on your willingness to follow. They want you to chase, to adapt, to bend, until you forget what it feels like to stand tall on your own. But relationships built on games are like castles made of sand. They crumble with the first wave. You don't need to fit into their tempo to find love. True love doesn't ask you to abandon your song. It asks you to sing louder. As Maya Angelou once said, "You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody." Think of a beautiful dance floor. At one end, there's someone beckoning you to join, but every time you step closer, they move further away. The floor becomes a trap, the music a lure. But what if, instead, you walked to the center of that floor, not to follow their lead, but to create your own steps? Suddenly, the power shifts. They're no longer the conductor of your emotions. You are. You're not broken. You're discovering your strength, your grace, your power to dance without waiting for their permission. This isn't just about relationships. It's about self-worth. When you stop dancing to someone else's tune, you send a powerful message, not to them, but to yourself. You declare that your time, your energy, and your love are not bargaining chips in someone else's game. It's not about ignoring them or playing hard to get in return. It's about elevating yourself so high that their games no longer touch you. They walked away, but you're still standing. And not just standing, you're rising. Imagine your rhythm as a heartbeat, steady and unyielding. When you allow someone else to control that beat, you lose the essence of who you are. But when you reclaim it, when you move to your own tempo, you become impossible to ignore. People are drawn to those who know their worth, who don't seek validation but embody it. By stepping out of their tune, you don't just outsmart their game, you transcend it. You show them that your rhythm is too unique, too powerful to be confined by their rules. Picture this. You're a bird in flight, soaring high above a forest. Below, someone is holding out crumbs, hoping you'll descend. But why would you lower yourself for scraps when the whole sky is yours? That's the freedom you reclaim when you stop chasing their approval. Your value isn't measured by their attention, it's measured by the life you create when you realize you don't need it. Your silence, your grace, your refusal to play their game becomes the loudest message you'll ever send. When you stop dancing to their tune, something remarkable happens. They start to notice the silence, the absence of your steps following theirs. They start to wonder why the rhythm has changed. And in that moment, the power they thought they held begins to dissolve. The game they played turns into a mirror, forcing them to see what they've lost. But by then you'll be so far ahead, so in tune with your own rhythm, that their realization won't define you. It will only validate what you've known all along. This is your moment to rise, to reclaim everything. The strongest fires create the brightest flames, and your light is burning too brightly to be dimmed by someone else's shadow. Stop waiting for their approval, their affection, their crumbs. Start living for yourself. The love you seek starts with you. Let their games fall silent as you step boldly into the life you deserve. Write this affirmation in the comments. I create my own rhythm, and no one controls my dance. Let it be your mantra, your declaration of independence from their games. If this message resonates with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're here, working tirelessly to bring you lessons that transform, empower, and remind you of the greatness within you. Your rhythm is yours. Own it, live it, and let the world watch in awe. Number 2, silence speaks louder than words. Have you ever noticed how silence can be the most piercing response in a world full of noise? In relationships, when someone plays hard to get, they expect you to chase, to plead, to fill the space they've left with your words and actions. But what if, instead of playing into their game, you met their silence with your own? Not as an act of anger, but as a declaration of your worth. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. It's the refusal to let their actions define you. And here's the truth. In the quietest moments, you'll find your greatest strength. They're betting on your need for validation, that you'll rush to bridge the gap they've created. But silence flips the script. When you stop chasing, you force them to confront the void they expected you to fill. As the old saying goes, silence is the best reply to a fool. But in this context, silence isn't just a reply, it's a mirror. It forces them to see the space they've left and ask themselves why you're not scrambling to close it. It shows them that your self-worth is unshaken by their absence. Picture this. A flame needs oxygen to grow. If you smother it, it dies. But if you let it burn without interference, it thrives. Your silence is the space that allows their actions to reveal their true intent. When you stop fanning the flames of their attention-seeking behavior, they're left with nothing but their own games, and those games begin to lose their power. This isn't about ignoring someone. It's about showing them that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on uncertainty. It's about standing firm and saying, "I will not dance to your tune." In relationships, silence can be more powerful than words. Words beg to be heard. Silence demands to be felt. When you choose silence, you're not giving up, you're stepping up. You're showing them that you're not afraid of the void they've created. You're comfortable in your own space, and that confidence is magnetic. They'll start to wonder, why haven't you reached out? What are you thinking? And in that wondering, the power shifts. Suddenly, they're the ones chasing clarity while you stand tall, unshaken. Imagine you're in a room filled with music. The song pauses, and for a moment the silence is deafening. That silence has the power to captivate more than any melody. Your silence in a relationship is no different. It's a pause that forces them to stop and listen, to truly hear the absence of your voice. And in that pause, they'll begin to see your value in a way words never could. Silence, when used with intention, is not a retreat, it's a reset. It's natural to feel like you need to explain yourself, to pour your feelings into words that justify your actions or make them understand your worth. But here's a secret: your worth doesn't need an explanation. Your silence speaks volumes about your confidence, your independence, and your refusal to play by their rules. This is your moment to reclaim your narrative, to let your quiet strength do the talking. You don't need to beg for their attention or validation. You are enough, with or without them. When someone plays hard to get, their goal is to keep you off balance, to make you question your place in their life. But your silence is a reminder that you're not here to prove your worth. They'll feel the weight of your absence and realize that the game they're playing is losing its thrill. You're not broken, you're rising. And when they see the strength of your silence, they'll understand that you're no longer waiting for them to notice your value. You've already found it within yourself. Your silence is not about pushing them away. It's about drawing a line that says, "I will not compromise my self-respect." It's about standing firm in the face of their tactics and letting them see that their absence doesn't define your happiness. They may have underestimated you, but now it's time to prove them wrong. Not with anger, not with games, but with the quiet power of your growth. Let them wonder what's changed. Let them feel the shift. And when they realize what they've lost, it will be because you've shown them, without a word, that you are a force to be reckoned with. This is your story, and it's just beginning. You've cried enough. It's time to conquer. Stop waiting for their validation. Stop chasing what you already deserve. Your silence is not an ending. It's a new chapter. And when they finally hear what your silence has been saying all along, it will be too powerful to ignore. Say this with me. My silence is my strength. Write it in the comments to claim your power. If this message resonated with you, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. We're working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, and your growth is worth every effort. This is your moment. Embrace it. Number 3, shift the spotlight to yourself. Have you ever noticed how the people who play hard to get seem to pull all the attention toward themselves? It's as if they become the sun in the center of your emotional universe, and you're left orbiting around their whims, their actions, their approval. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Their power isn't real, it's something you've handed to them by focusing all your energy on them. What if, instead of chasing their light, you became your own? What if you shifted the spotlight to yourself and let them realize what they've been overlooking all along? In relationships, the person who controls the focus controls the dynamic. When you give all your attention to someone who's playing hard to get, you inadvertently feed their strategy. But the moment you pull back, the moment you center yourself and your own life, the balance changes. They no longer hold the reins. You do. Like a stage performer who loses their audience mid-act, they'll start to feel the absence of your energy. And when you focus on building your life, your happiness, and your confidence, they'll realize that the spotlight was shining on the wrong person all along. Think of yourself as the main character in your own story. Imagine a movie where the protagonist spends all their time chasing after someone who barely notices them. Would you root for that character? Or would you want them to step into their own power, to live a life so fulfilling and exciting that the love interest finally sees what they've been missing? This is your story, and you get to decide how it unfolds. You're not a supporting actor in someone else's tale. You're the star, and it's time to take center stage. As the poet William Ernest Henley wrote, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." Shifting the spotlight to yourself means embracing this truth. It means realizing that your worth isn't tied to their attention or their approval. You are whole, complete, and worthy on your own. When you stop chasing, you allow space for something greater to come to you, something authentic, something real. The person playing hard to get isn't the prize. The life you're building for yourself is. Picture a lighthouse standing tall on a cliff. It doesn't chase the ships at sea. It doesn't dim its light to seek approval. It stands firm, shining brightly, and the ships find their way to it. Be the lighthouse in your own life. Let your confidence, your growth, and your happiness shine so brightly that they're drawn to you, not because you begged for their attention, but because you became impossible to ignore. This isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. You're not waiting to be chosen, you're choosing yourself. When you shift the spotlight, it's not just about looking good or pretending to be fine. It's about truly investing in yourself. Revisit the passions you've set aside. Take on challenges that make you feel alive. Surround yourself with people who see your worth without you having to convince them. Build a life so rich, so vibrant, that anyone who once played hard to get will realize they're no longer the center of your world. They're just a part of it, and only if they earn their place. Think of a flower garden. When you focus all your effort on just one flower, you might miss the opportunity to cultivate the entire garden. But when you water every corner, tending to the soil with care, the garden blooms in ways that take your breath away. Your life is that garden. When you stop pouring everything into someone who's withholding, you create room for your entire life to flourish. And in that bloom, they'll see the beauty they took for granted. This is your moment to reclaim everything. To stop waiting for someone to notice you and start noticing yourself. You're not a victim of their games. You're the hero of this story. Every setback you've faced, every tear you've shed, has been preparing you for this moment, to rise, to shine, and to show the world your worth. They underestimated you, but now it's time to prove them wrong, not for their sake, but for yours. Write this affirmation in the comments. I am the star of my own story, and the spotlight is mine. Let it remind you every day of the power you hold to shift the dynamic and reclaim your narrative. And if this message resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're working hard to bring you lessons that empower, inspire, and transform. You are your own light, and the world is waiting to see you shine. Number 4, leave the door open, but guard the key. Have you ever noticed how the door that's left slightly ajar feels far more intriguing than the one slammed shut? In relationships, the same rule applies. Shutting someone out completely might feel like a moment of power, but it often closes off opportunities for growth, connection, and even attraction. Instead, what if you left the door open, just enough for them to see what they're missing, but kept the key firmly in your hand? This is the art of maintaining control without burning bridges. It's not about begging for their attention. It's about showing them what's on the other side of that door while standing strong in your boundaries. When someone plays hard to get, it can feel like they hold all the cards. Their detachment draws you in, making you question your worth. But here's the truth. The key to outsmarting their game is understanding that they don't hold the power. You do. You are the one who decides who gets to enter your world. You are the one who determines what you deserve. As the saying goes, a lock without a key is nothing more than a barrier. Your key is your self-respect, and it's the one thing they can't take from you. Think of your life as a grand, beautiful house. The door represents access to your energy, your heart, your mind, all the things that make you extraordinary. When someone plays hard to get, it's tempting to throw that door wide open, hoping they'll walk through. But desperation never draws someone closer. It pushes them away. Instead, leave the door open just enough to remind them of the beauty inside, but guard it with a firm sense of your own value. They need to know that stepping inside isn't a right. It's a privilege they must earn. Imagine a treasure chest in the middle of a bustling room. Everyone knows there's something valuable inside, but the lock keeps it secure. The mystery draws people closer, not because the chest begs for their attention, but because its worth is undeniable. In relationships, your boundaries are that lock. They protect your value while still allowing others to glimpse the treasure within. You don't have to plead for someone to stay. Let your worth speak louder than any words. When they see the door is open, they might hesitate, thinking they still hold control. But the truth will become clear as they approach. They can't enter without your permission. This subtle but powerful shift changes everything. Suddenly, they're no longer playing hard to get. You are. And you're doing it not through manipulation, but through self-respect. The key in your hand represents your choice. It's the ultimate statement that while they might want to be part of your world, they don't dictate the terms. Leaving the door open doesn't mean allowing them to walk all over you. It means standing tall and showing them that your life is full, vibrant, and fulfilling, with or without them. They'll see what they're missing, and they'll begin to question why they ever thought they could take you for granted. They'll see the strength in your boundaries, the confidence in your actions, and the unwavering sense of self-worth that radiates from you. You're not waiting by the door. You're living your life. And that's what makes you irresistible. The door you leave open isn't an invitation to be treated poorly. It's a reminder of what they've lost and what they'll need to prove to earn back. This isn't about playing games. It's about owning your value. When someone sees that you're willing to walk away if they don't match your effort, it forces them to confront their own actions. You're not chasing, you're setting the standard. And the higher that standard, the more they'll realize they need to rise to meet it. So, leave the door open, but guard the key. Let them see the incredible life you're building without them at the center of it. Let them feel the absence of your energy, your attention, and your love. And when they come knocking, you'll be the one deciding whether they're worthy of stepping inside. You're no longer the one waiting. You're the one they're trying to impress. This is your moment to reclaim everything. You don't need to slam the door to prove your strength. Your strength lies in knowing that you hold the power, and that power is yours to keep. Write this affirmation in the comments. I hold the key to my heart, and I guard it with strength. Let it remind you every day that your worth is non-negotiable, and no one enters your world unless they earn the right. If this message resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're working hard to create these life-changing lessons to help you take control of your relationships and thrive in every aspect of your life. This is your story. Make it one they'll never forget. Number 5. Show them the value they took for granted. Have you ever considered that the person who walked away from your life didn't just lose you? They lost access to the unique energy, support, and love that only you could provide. The truth is, their decision to underestimate your worth says more about them than it does about you. But here's the twist. You don't need to convince them of your value with words. Your transformation will do that for you. Let your actions echo with the message they ignored. This is your moment to rise and show them what they could only see too late. In relationships, being undervalued isn't just a slight, it's a challenge. It's the universe daring you to stand taller, shine brighter, and leave behind those who couldn't see your light. You're not here to beg for attention or to explain why you matter. You're here to create a life so radiant that their indifference turns into regret. Remember this: you're not a victim of their blindness. You're the architect of your worth. This isn't about them. It's about you stepping into the brilliance they failed to honor. Imagine for a moment a garden. When someone leaves, they think the flowers will wither without their care, but they forget one essential truth. The gardener was always you. They may have walked away, but they didn't take the seeds of your growth with them. Now it's your time to cultivate, to plant the kind of beauty and vibrance that will make them stop in their tracks and wonder why they ever left. They didn't define your bloom, your resilience did. As Bruce Lee once said, mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them. And while they may never confess they misjudged you, your growth will be a reminder they can't escape. You see, people often take for granted what seems constant in their lives. But when that constant becomes absent and then flourishes beyond imagination, it forces them to confront the truth. They underestimated you. And now, the only story left to tell is the one where you rise higher than their expectations. Think of a neglected book. It sits on the shelf, its pages rich with knowledge and adventure, waiting for someone to turn its cover. But when it's finally rediscovered, its story feels more profound, its value more undeniable. You are that story, and their disregard doesn't erase the treasure you hold within. They didn't stop reading because you lacked value. They stopped because they were too distracted to appreciate it. Now it's your time to rewrite your narrative. One so compelling they'll wish they'd never put you down. You've been overlooked, but that doesn't mean you're invisible. Your silence is speaking volumes, and your transformation is creating ripples they can't ignore. You're not here to chase someone who played hard to get. You're here to build a life so extraordinary that they can't help but notice what they lost. Your heart knows its worth, and now is the time to listen to it. This is the moment to stand tall, not for them, but for yourself. Picture this. You're a lighthouse. Its light doesn't flicker or fade just because a passing ship fails to dock. It continues to shine, unshaken, guiding everything in its path. When they see your unwavering strength, when they realize you've become brighter and bolder without them, they'll understand the magnitude of their oversight. But by then, the question won't be whether they recognize your worth. It will be whether they've earned the right to stand beside you again. Every setback, every moment of doubt was preparing you for this transformation. They thought you needed them to thrive, but they were wrong. Your future is waiting, and it's time to meet it with open arms. Stop waiting for their recognition or their return. Your journey isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were always enough. Let your scars be your crown and your growth be your anthem. This is your moment to show the value they took for granted. Let your life speak louder than any words you could say. Build a world so radiant, so fulfilling, that their absence becomes irrelevant. And when they finally realize what they left behind, it will be on your terms, not theirs. Write this affirmation in the comments. I am the treasure they failed to value, and my worth speaks for itself. Let it remind you every day of your strength and beauty. If this message resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're dedicated to bringing you lessons that inspire, empower, and transform lives, because you deserve to shine. Number 6. Refuse to be their puppet. Cut the strings. Have you ever felt like a marionette in someone else's game, tugged by invisible strings you didn't agree to? That's what it feels like when someone plays hard to get. Every glance, every word, every silence is calculated to keep you guessing, to keep you under their control. But here's the truth. You're not a puppet, and their strings only work if you let them. This is your moment to step off their stage, cut the strings, and reclaim your power. You're not here to dance to their tune. You're here to compose your own symphony. When someone plays hard to get, it's not about mutual connection. It's about maintaining control. They thrive on your uncertainty, your longing, your need for validation. But your worth doesn't depend on their approval. As Eleanor Roosevelt once said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. The same applies here. Their power over you ends the moment you decide it does. Enough is enough. Take your power back and watch how quickly the game falls apart when you stop playing along. Imagine you're holding a beautiful kite, one that soars high above, tethered to your hand. But the kite isn't free. It's bound to you by the strings you hold. The moment you release it, the kite either flies on its own or crashes to the ground. The same is true in relationships. When you cut the strings of control, the person who once pulled you along is left to navigate their own path. Either they rise to meet you or they fade away. And either way, you're free to soar. Relationships aren't about control. They're about balance, respect, and mutual investment. When someone plays hard to get, they're showing you that their priority isn't building a connection. It's testing your patience and bending your boundaries. But you're stronger than their games. You don't need their breadcrumbs of affection to feel worthy. You're not broken. You're rising. Every move you make away from their manipulation is a step toward your own strength, your own freedom. You're not a victim of their tactics. You're the hero of your story. Think of a chessboard. When someone plays hard to get, they're trying to make you believe you're just another piece in their game. But you're not a pawn. You're the player. The moment you see the board for what it is, you can make your own moves, ones that serve your growth and happiness. Their strategies only work when you remain reactive. But when you take control, when you stop engaging with their tactics, the game shifts. You become the one in charge. Cutting the strings doesn't mean walking away in anger or bitterness. It means choosing yourself first. It means valuing your time, energy, and emotions enough to stop giving them away to someone who doesn't appreciate them. When you let go of the need to chase, to prove, to fix, you open the door to attracting someone who sees your worth without you having to remind them. You're not here to be tested, you're here to be cherished. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse, standing tall and steadfast on the shore. You don't chase the ships, you guide them with your light. And when one ship sails away, it doesn't dim your brilliance. You continue to shine, unwavering, because your light isn't dependent on their presence. They'll notice your strength, your stability, and they'll realize the game they played was never necessary. They had everything they needed in you, but by then you'll be so far ahead, they'll have to work to catch up. You don't need to control them to win this game. You win by refusing to play. The strongest fires burn from within, and your strength isn't something they can take away. They underestimated you, now prove them wrong. Not through spite, but through growth. Let their absence be the fuel that ignites your transformation. You're not just surviving their manipulation, you're thriving despite it. This is your moment to rise above their tactics, to cut the strings that held you back and reclaim your narrative. Your heart knows its worth. Listen to it. You've cried enough. It's time to conquer. You're not a puppet. You're the master of your own life. Let this be the turning point where you stop reacting to their moves and start creating your own. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. Say this with me. I am not a puppet. I am in control of my life. Write it in the comments to affirm your power and to remind yourself every day that you are stronger than their games. If this message resonates with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're working hard to bring you life-changing lessons that empower you to rise above, take control, and thrive in your relationships and your life. Your time is now. Choose freedom. Number 7. Turn the game into a stage. Let them watch you shine. Have you ever noticed that the people who play hard to get often seem like they hold all the power? It's almost as if they're on a stage, captivating your attention while leaving you stuck in the audience, waiting for your turn to step into the spotlight. But what if I told you that you don't have to play their game at all? Instead, you can create your own stage, a grand, unapologetic showcase of your strength, growth, and brilliance. And let them watch from the sidelines, wishing they had a place in your story. This isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your power and showing the world exactly what you're made of. You don't have to chase them. When you rise, they'll follow. Imagine your life as a performance. You've been spending so much time trying to perfect your lines for someone else's play that you've forgotten. You're the star of your own show. Playing by their rules, trying to guess their next move, only leaves you stuck in their narrative. But the moment you step off their stage and build your own, the entire dynamic shifts. They go from being the one who commands the story to the one who's watching, realizing they underestimated the brilliance they left behind. You're not a supporting role in their life. You're the main act in yours. As Oscar Wilde once said, to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And in relationships, that's where true attraction begins. When you focus on yourself, on your growth, your happiness, and your dreams, you become irresistible. The more you shine, the more they'll be drawn to you, not because you begged for their attention, but because your light is too captivating to ignore. This is your stage, and every move you make is a reminder that you're the one who decides the story's direction. Think of yourself as a lighthouse. The person playing hard to get expects you to chase them, to scramble for the warmth of their light. But when you stand tall, unshaken, and let your own brilliance guide the way, they'll be the ones searching for you in the darkness. A lighthouse doesn't chase the ships. It simply shines, and those who value its light come to it willingly. Your strength isn't in how loudly you pursue them. It's in how boldly you stand your ground. Imagine a beautiful garden. You've spent so much time tending to one flower, hoping it will bloom in your favor, that you've forgotten the rest of the garden. But the moment you shift your focus, watering every plant, letting the garden thrive, you create something breathtaking. That's what happens when you stop waiting for someone to recognize your worth and instead pour that energy into yourself. The more you flourish, the harder it becomes for them to look away. They'll want to be part of the beauty you've created, not because you asked, but because your life is a masterpiece. In relationships, power doesn't come from chasing, it comes from attracting. The person playing hard to get relies on your fear of losing them, but the truth is, you never needed them to complete you. When you stop running toward them and start running toward your own goals, you'll discover the most magnetic force of all: confidence. Let them see you smiling, thriving, living boldly. Let them realize that the person they thought they could keep at a distance has become someone they can't afford to lose. They thought their absence would make you crumble, but here you are, standing taller than ever. You've cried enough. It's time to conquer. Every step you take toward becoming your best self is a reminder that you're not defined by their games. You are the architect of your own life, and the stage you're building is one they'll wish they could stand on. They walked away, but you're still here, rising, thriving, and proving to yourself that you were always enough. Your best revenge? Success they can't ignore. This isn't about playing their game better. It's about stepping into a new game entirely, one where you make the rules. Build a life so full, so radiant, that they'll look back and wonder how they ever let you slip away. But by then, you'll have moved so far forward that their return will be a choice you make, not a decision you wait for. So take a deep breath.